This is ContraZoom,
where we go back and forth about film.
I'm Dakota Arsenault.
And I'm Rachel Ho.
On today's show, we are continuing our A24 Retrospective. This is our 22nd edition of the series, and you can listen to recent episodes like 237, A24 Retrospective While We're Young, or 232, A24 Retrospective Son of a Gun, or go all the way back to episode 108, A History of A24 Films, to get the full backstory on the company. Today, we are looking at the 2015 film Cut Bank, directed by Matt Shakman. The film stars Liam Hemsworth and Teresa Palmer as a couple who witnessed the murder of a mailman in small-town Cut Bank, Montana, and the sheriff, played by John Malkovich, whose investigation may reveal it's not so simple of a case. I want to welcome Daniel Grant to the show for the first time. Daniel is one half of the podcast Spoiled Rotten, a podcast where he and co-host Ben review comic book-based movies and TV shows. The podcast is also partnered with That Shelf, which makes our podcast sister shows. And Daniel is the podcast manager over at That Shelf. So in a way, our boss too. So welcome to the show, Daniel. How are you?
I'm nobody's boss. I just get the stuff done. Thank you very much for the kind intro. And thank you very much for having me. As I've said to both of you, I genuinely enjoy the show and listening. So I'm happy I get to be a part of it now.
I'm very excited. Yes, you recently just had both of us on your show on separate times. You released an episode recently where Rachel was on talking about Batman Forever, and then you and I, with Ben, obviously, just recorded one about The Punisher that will be coming out in July, you said?
In July, yeah.
So this is a prequel to that, even though the other thing has already happened. It makes sense in my mind. It won't make sense to any listeners' minds, though.
I 100% thought you were about to be like, who was the better guest?
So, Daniel, who is the better guest?
We all know.
Your audio's cutting out. What was the question?
Oh.
I think everyone did a great job on both episodes. And
the ever diplomatic boss of the podcast.
All I could ever do is leave it for the listeners, and I'm sure they will think that both of you did a great job as well. I can't pick like that. Everything is cool to me in that way.
Yeah, but which one was like cooler?
Considering how many times I need to listen to Matthew and Simon wax poetically about Rachel's great radio voice on their show Awesome Friday, I think I know the answer is Rachel.
It's all right. Look, we all have our strengths.
I can tell you which episode went longer.
Oh,
I don't know
which one went longer.
If that means anything to anyone, doesn't mean anything to me.
Dakota, who would you think goes long? I think ours went longer. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think you talk a lot more, Rachel.
Yeah, I think I talk a lot more than Dakota.
Well, yeah, the Rachel episode is longer. So if that means anything to anyone, there's that.
It means I'm more long-winded. That's what that means.
Could it also be that we really struggled to come up with interesting talking points for The Punisher?
I thought everything was interesting, but also I was pretty stumped on like, how do I get over just feeling this way of being deflated by spoiling the episode.
I was gonna say that could probably be Batman Forever is just a better movie.
I was a little more excited about Batman Forever.
Yeah, there's more to talk about. It's more fun.
But this is the whole point of having guests that I think are cool on, was that at least the conversation will be interesting, even if I don't find the movie that interesting to me.
There you go.
There we go. Nice and diplomatic. All right. Well, Daniel, since it is now your first time on the show, and specifically first time on the A24 Retrospective series, we're going to kick it off with our tradition of the A24 4 questions. And so we'd love to hear your answers. Question number 1, what are your top 3 A24 films?
I feel like I'll just say the 3. They're not that interesting. I don't think people will find them that surprising, but Everything Everywhere All at Once, Moonlight, and Killing of a Sacred Deer, although I do really like The Lobster. I think I've revisited Killing of a Sacred Deer way more often, and I think I watched it like 4 times the weekend that I saw it.
Wow. Okay, you said that's not that interesting of a selection, but I think including Killing of a Sacred Deer is really interesting because I don't think anyone else has said that. A few people have said The Lobster, but no one has said Killing of a Sacred Deer. So rise up for the Lanthimos gang.
Yes, there we go.
I'm constantly surprised. I keep saying this every time it's mentioned, but like the fact that Everything Everywhere All at Once is hitting people's top 3 when it just came out last year, and like we were getting people saying that last year, like towards the end of the last year, people were already saying that was one of their top 3s, and I find that very, very fast. And I'm not trying to call you out here, Daniel, but I'm curious if it's like a recency thing or, I mean, it's just a great movie though. Like it's a great movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years time, these people still say, no, it's still one of my favorites.
I'm always worried about recency bias, but, so I tend to like leave that out. I tend to say like, oh, I recently saw that and it was good. But I mean, the rewatch of Everything Everywhere All at Once gave me just a deeper appreciation of it. So I felt like it really is one of my favorite movies.
Well, at least you have that thing like you try to purposely avoid recency bias. And so that I feel like that makes it more credible. Is that you're like actively trying not to do it, but then it still pulls you in anyway.
Yeah, and I would also say, you've included A24 has won Best Picture twice at the Oscars, and that's Everything Everywhere and Moonlight. So, like, putting them on a similar pedestal sort of makes sense in regards to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I like that list. That's a great list. It's hard to complain about it. And I'm happy to finally hear someone say Killing of a Sacred Deer, because that's a great one. I think I prefer The Lobster a little bit more, but Killing of a Sacred Deer is excellent.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that was represented because I do like I feel like Bill already went over this, but yeah, I do like Yorgos Lanthimos, but those two are really the ones that stick with me the more I think about them and as time goes on.
Yeah, his movies definitely have a way of sort of burrowing into your brain.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to question number 2. And what was your introduction to A24?
I feel like I want to say Spectacular Now, but I think it probably was more like I was aware of A24 being a thing with Obvious Child, but I definitely saw Spectacular Now right when it came out. And so I feel like that would be my introduction, but Obvious Child probably is when I was like, oh, this is like a company that does movies I like.
Oh, cool. Nice. All right. And
that's an early one. Sorry, I was going to say that's an early one because I feel like most people are saying, I think similar to what I've said, which is like The Enemy, Underneath the Skin, like that time of A24. And so Spectacular Now is a bit old. Like you're like cool before it was cool. That's the thing.
All I know is my friend who you guys were I just was listening to you guys talking about Fast and Furious. He only likes Fast and Furious. Those are the only movies he cares about. He won't watch anything else. And I got him to watch Spectacular Now. And that's like the only thing he could talk about for like months was like that relationship and the actors in it. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm spreading the word. This is good.
How funny. So he rides with Fast and Furious and Spectacular Now. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Really was the only thing he could talk about for months. So like, no, Shailene Woodley in that movie was really doing a lot of good work. I was like, okay, I thought you only cared about the races in Fast and Furious.
That's really funny.
All right. So question number 3. What director, dead or alive, would make a good A24 film?
Now, here's where I'm really taking a swing here, and I hope I didn't get this wrong, but I don't think Rick Famuyiwa has done an A24 film. And I would really like him to do one. I'm basing this off of, I mean, we'll get to this in the other questions, but like, I feel like his movie, they are connected, but the movie The Wood and Dope have like qualities that I think would work well in the A24 system, of just these like vibe movies that you can enjoy on that level. And I think he would be able to bring something to A24.
Yeah, I've only seen Dope of his and then, his TV work on like The Mandalorian. But based on Dope, I would absolutely agree because they also do quite a few coming of age stories, and that's sort of what Dope is as well too. And so mixing the vibes with the coming of age definitely sort of feels within the milieu of what A24 does. So I think that's a pretty great answer.
I've randomly only ever seen Our Family Wedding from him.
I haven't seen that. I've seen that.
It's not great. I have to admit, it's not great for me.
Yeah, I've seen. I will only defend The Wood and Dope of the movies I've seen of his, and I always forget that he does a Mandalorian, but he does have some of my favorite Mandalorian episodes under his belt. So
I should watch those other ones you mentioned though, because I do like a good vibe movie. So I'll
so
check those out.
The Wood is like this love letter to like early '90s, late '80s, in I want to say Inglewood. aka The Wood. But like, it's funny because then when you watch Dope, some of the characters from that movie are in Dope and even say, "Hey, ask your brother about me" or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, well, he's got like a little universe going. That's nice.
Interesting. Okay, I'll definitely check both of them out then. Good to know, because then you have to watch The Wood first.
Yeah. You might not even really care to see those, but like, I think they're both worthwhile watches. And it's not like you need an order to watching them.
I like having order, Daniel.
Okay,
I enjoy order in my life. I will watch The Wood first. It'll be great. Thank you for that. That's a good recommendation, because I genuinely only really knew him for our family wedding. And it's nice to know that that's not reflective of all of his work. So that's good. I wouldn't consider that a vibe movie personally.
No, I think The Wood and Dope are more vibe movies than the other stuff he's done.
I'll check them out.
Nice. Okay. And then the last question, what makes an A24 film?
So, yeah, I've said it many times, vibe, but I do think that there's sort of like a dreamlike quality, at least I feel, for the movies I thoroughly enjoy from A24, that like while you're watching, and even like when you're trying to like share with a friend, you kind of go back into that dreamlike state. It just feels like there's like a warmth to it, but also like a dreamlike state of vibes is basically the best way I can put it. And that to me feels like an A24 film, even if it is nightmarish like Hereditary, or kind of hazy, not quite the nightmare of Spectacular Now. I always feel like there's a dreamlike state to the proceedings, and everything about it, like even the way people deliver their dialogue, the way it looks, the sound of it, all of that is how I would describe it.
Vibey.
Yeah.
Straight vibes. Vibey. Yeah, I think so. And like, I think especially the ones that you picked, like I'm thinking Moonlight. Moonlight for me is a real vibe movie. Like it's got a real good vibe to it. So yeah. I love the answer. Like that's probably my favorite question to hear the answers to that we ask, is this one, because I find it really interesting what people take from it. I think you're the first person to kind of just say like they're kind of just vibey, like they're straight vibe. Everyone talks about the thing of A24 and like I suppose the not attitude, but like people talk about like there's always this kind of quality to A24 movies, but I actually would agree. I think most A24 movies have some sort of vibe quality to them, even if it's not a vibe movie itself.
Well, I'm glad you agree. I would, I'm not as articulate as you guys, so I'm trying my best, but I think that was what I was trying to get out there, just the vibes of it all.
Yeah, and I agree with Rachel, where like it's a very interesting question because we get so many different answers, and a lot of them sort of dance around the similar area of what they're trying to say. So it's always interesting to just sort of hear people in their own words describe a similar feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I love that we all have that similar feel. Like that kind of shows they're doing something right as a studio, that everybody kind of comes away with something similar, because it's hard. I think like if you ask what makes a Universal movie, like there's no answer to that, because they do all sorts of different stuff. And I mean, one day A24 might get into that same thing, the bigger that they get, which we kind of talked about, I guess, in the last episode, was just how large they're getting now. But as of right now, as of recording, A24 still vibes.
Yes. All right, let us move on to our topic of the day.
What can I do you for?
Waiting on a parcel.
Here, we're surrounded by miles and miles
Wayne heard?
of wheat and canola fields.
They murdered the mailman.
Where's the mail?
They kidnapped him.
So, we got ourselves a video of a murder. Yes, sir. First murder this town has ever seen.
Is it true about your murder video? So you're really getting all that money? How much?
A lifetime sum.
Cut Bank was the feature directorial debut and so far only feature by Matt Shakman. He has since become more notable for directing all of the Marvel TV show WandaVision and having directed the most episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, with 43 episodes under his belt. so far at least. The movie has an impressive cast for a debut film with the aforementioned Hemsworth, Palmer, Malkovich, along with Bruce Dern, Michael Stuhlbarg, Billy Bob Thornton, and Oliver Platt. When a young couple accidentally films the murder of the town's mailman, Bruce Dern, the sheriff assumes it will be an easy case to solve. But as he digs deeper into finding the murderer, things stop making sense. The murder was actually staged, with Dern and associates having faked it in order to collect $100,000. Things get extra messy when Darby Milton, Michael Stolberg, the town's recluse, shows up looking for his package that the post office never delivered. The film premiered at the Los Angeles Film Festival in June of 2014, and the rights were purchased by A24 and DirecTV ahead of that year's TIFF. The movie premiered on DirecTV on February 26, 2015, and in theaters on April 3rd. This is going to be a spoiler-filled episode, so if you have not watched the film, we suggest doing so first. I think the place to start is this. Does a movie with a cast as impressive like this rise to the occasion, or does all the plot machinations just get in the way of telling an interesting crime thriller? Rachel?
I don't even know if there's an interesting crime thriller in there to be unverted. I really didn't like this movie. I thought it was really stupid. I won't lie. As I was going through it, so I don't know. So I love Matt Shakman. I think I'm a big Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan. And so when I heard that this was like his only movie that he's directed, I was quite excited, even though it's not a comedy and it's nothing to do with Always Sunny, but he's directed some of the greatest Always Sunny episodes, like some real classics from that show. So I don't know, maybe I was expecting too much. I'm not sure, but I can't even say it's either. I just don't think that there was anything good there. I'm coming around on the idea that you don't necessarily need to do something new in every single movie, because it's near impossible at this point. And I think sometimes if you're going to go down the road of a more paint by colors type of film, so if this is the more paint by colors kind of double crossing murder, it's not a thriller, there's no thrills, like that kind of thing, then I feel like you need to execute it really, really well. Like if it's going to be normal, and I shouldn't say normal, if it's going to be something that is not unique, then make sure it's done really, really well. And I don't think that this is done even well, personally. So I can't even say that I don't think it's either, to your question. I just don't think it's a very good movie.
It was a bit of a trick question because I agree with you. Daniel, I'd love to get your thoughts on the movie. Did you like it, or do you agree with Rachel and I that it's maybe not that good?
No, I didn't like it. I think so like Rachel, I knew Matt Shakman as It's Always Sunny, and I think I have a couple other shows that I really like, in addition to the guy who's going to do Fantastic Four and did WandaVision. So I thought, like, okay, this might be like that John Watts movie Cop Car, where it's like stripped down, but you still get something about why a Marvel would want to work or have a name attached. I know that people debate about how much input the actual directors get, but like why you would want to pick someone like this. And I'm just like, this just seems like a movie he got to do. And then it really was based on the TV stuff that he'd done that they wanted to be associated with him. And I do think, I think this solidified I'm not a Liam Hemsworth fan. Of all the casting, like, and I'm not saying it's bad casting. I was just more like, I just can't get over that I have to be like, I think that's kind of deflated, that I was like, I don't care if he gets away with this. I just don't like him. And there's nothing he can do about it, really. And so, I didn't like it. And I think I had expectations go into it. So maybe that's playing against the movie as well.
I feel like, no, I just think it's a bad movie. Like, okay. I just don't think it's a good movie. And I'm actually, after you said that, Daniel, I'm realizing, I think this is the first thing I've ever seen Liam Hemsworth in. I don't think I've ever watched him in anything else.
I've only seen him in the Hunger Games stuff, if I'm being honest. No, that's not true. I've seen him in some comedies, but I just
watched the Hunger Games.
It's fine. You don't have to. I mean, maybe it'll be your favorite thing. I don't know. It's fine.
Can I ask? I was going to say, can I ask you guys, so if we're all in agreement that none of us are really feeling this movie, was there a point when you're watching it that you went, oh, this movie's just not for me? Like, Was there, do you guys recall having a point in the movie where you just thought, oh, I don't think this is going to be the movie for me?
This is going to sound like a joke, but when I read, Liam Hemsworth is the lead, not just a person in it, I was like, oh, this isn't for me. And then, so really what happened was there was moments where I was like, oh, maybe I will be wrong about this movie. Like anytime Bruce Dern got to do something, I was like, I'm into this. Like, let's keep going with the Bruce Dern stuff. But, yeah, I think it was knowing that it was actually a vehicle for Liam Hemsworth, and because they could have focused more on Malkovich if they wanted to, but they didn't. So I was just like, yeah, I think it was confirmed as the movie went along that it wasn't for me when they just kept sticking with Liam Hemsworth.
Dakota, how about you? Was there a moment?
Sort of similar to Daniel. I haven't seen Liam Hemsworth in anything else, so like you, I can't really compare it. But like it was like as soon as he was showing up on screen, I was like, oh man, he is not a good actor, and kind of explains why he's not nowhere near as famous as his brother is. But then, you know, you talk about the Bruce Dern sort of stuff, and, you know, he's playing this weird crotchety old man, which is something Bruce Dern, you know, does so well. And like, I just couldn't get past like his motivations of like the sort of stuff that he was doing and saying. And as the plot was sort of progressing, I was like, man, this movie is trying really hard to be Fargo, except for it's not good. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, what's the difference? And so the difference to me is Fargo was written, obviously by the Coen brothers, to have really dumb characters, where Cut Bank was just written by a dumb person. That is my estimation of like, this movie's trying so hard to be Fargo, like so much so that there's like, you know, lines of like, oh, Cut Bank is the coldest town in America, and you know, Oliver Platt shows up and he's like, how is this the coldest town in America? I'm sweating more than a whore in church, sort of thing, which, you know, is playing on the Fargo thing of, you know, that feels like probably one of the coldest movies I've ever watched. Everything about that movie is just ice cold. And obviously, you know, the double crossing, the single cop who might be the only somewhat intelligent person in town, but, you know, is a little over their head. And you get all the stuff of, you know, the inept criminals, all that sort of stuff, and some very violent actions, which is very Fargo-like, and Coen brothers in general. All that sort of stuff just feels like, oh man, we're just going to really sort of hammer home the Fargo comparisons, except for none of it is as good as Fargo. Not like it like I can't even like make up an analogy of how it can't hold a candle. It can't, you know, whatever you want to say. It's trying hard to be Fargo, but it ain't that.
It's funny you said that, because as you said, I'm like, oh, that is what they were trying to do, but I didn't think it was good. Like, I wasn't even like comparing it to Fargo in my mind, like as it was happening. Like, even to the point of they have Malkovich like throw up when he sees stuff. I know it's different in Fargo because she's pregnant, but but like it feels like that, because I was like, why is he like that? It didn't really, you know, seem
he's the folksy
like
sheriff who's kind of nice. Also, you know, he's very dedicated and is going to like stick his nose to the ground and figure out the crime, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
But then at the end of the movie, he's still willing to be like, all right, put these 2 bullets in it, and then you can go. Don't worry about it.
I have so many issues with that. I'm like,
yes,
the body's been dead for like a few days, right? We know that. Any good doctor, they're going to go, why are there fresh bullet wounds? Like, what's going on here? Like, forensics we have improved to a point that you can tell these things. That when I was like, what kind of a cop thinks that this is a good idea? Like, they know that this is not how it works. And then he put like the bulletproof vest underneath it. I was like, my God, this whole thing is just...
I almost looked up if that would make a difference. I was like, is that something I don't know? Like, put the bulletproof vest under the body? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I don't know.
And the angle he shot him from was very awkward in my mouth. I was like, that's... Yeah. I was trying to think of how he was going to shoot the body, and I was like, I didn't think it was just going to be like... I don't know how tall John Malkovich is, but I feel like it's kind of close. Anyway, I'm clearly overthinking it more than the screenwriter didn't think about it that way. So, but I remember thinking that was stupid and weird. This movie entirely... You talk about the Coen brothers saying like, oh, they're stupid characters, and I don't watch enough Coen brothers to kind of make that comparison, but it's like, none of these characters are stupid. That's the thing. And if they were stupid, maybe it would have been a better movie. Like, if they were just dumb, then you could have gone the more comedic route. And then also probably Shakman would have been in his bag then, like, because that's what he
Mhm.
knows how to do.
Yeah.
So why not go full? If you're going to do partly Coen Brothers homage, why not just go full on Coen Brothers?
Yeah.
And
then like another reference I'm seeing is not the main poster. I guess the main poster that you see on like IMDb looks like very much like a Norman Rockwell sort of painting of the mailbox. But the other one that I see most frequently about it is it's a pair of glasses with a bullet hole through it, which feels a lot like the Dustin Hoffman movie Straw Dogs, the Sam Peckinpah directed movie, where that's what the poster for that is a bullet hole through glasses. And so I'm just like, these movies that you're sort of referencing and using as the palette for this isn't showing up at all. This is not Sam Peckinpah. This is not the Coen Brothers. Like, what are you trying to do here?
They were not setting themselves up for success. Putting those expectations on the movie.
That's the worst thing you could possibly do, though, isn't it, with a movie? Is like make it seem close and similar enough that it will evoke the memory and like the attitude of a bunch of other filmmakers, but yet you yourself don't find your own lane, and it's also just not done well. Like that is probably the worst thing to come out. I used to say the worst thing to come out of a movie was like no feeling whatsoever. Like you don't hate it, you don't like it, you're just like, whatever, that was 2 hours of my time. But maybe the worst thing actually is evoking the memory of a bunch of other much better filmmakers just to highlight the inadequacy of yourself.
Making people be like, I wish I was watching the better movie right now instead of this.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's actually probably worse than coming out of a movie theater being like, yeah, all right, whatever. That was something.
Yeah. So we basically have like an A plot and a B plot as far as the actual crime thriller aspect goes, because you got this A plot of, Bruce Dern. We see at the very beginning of the movie, he is shot dead. I'm doing air quotes here, but it turns out it was faked because they're trying to collect $100,000. And so you get the sort of police investigation of trying to figure out who killed the policeman, where did the body go, all that sort of stuff. And then, the plot, the loose ends start loosening up basically. And then you have the B plot of Derby Milton, this Michael Stuhlbarg character who is single-mindedly trying to find his package that we see is in the back of the mail truck that Bruce Dern was driving, and it ends up going into a storage locker. And all we see is it looks like a lunchbox, and it has a post tag on it or whatever saying that it's addressed to him. And so he then is unwavering in his pursuit of trying to get this package back, and we don't really know why, what it is, what's in this box, what's he need it for, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, it eventually all becomes clear. But for some reason, it really kind of feels like we're watching two different movies here, and it takes a long time for the plots to overlap. And when they finally do, you're just like, okay, and why am I supposed to care about this? Did it feel as confusing to the two of you as it did to me?
I came in here hoping that you guys weren't confused, because I was like, I like Michael Stuhlbarg a lot, so I was rooting for his storyline. But when it got to the end of it, I was like, well, it seems like we needed to cut one of these storylines, or like have it just be more connected, because I didn't understand fully why both things were in the movie.
I don't think I thought too much about it, I'll be honest with you. I was just kind of like, yeah, all right, these things are happening. Yeah, but if I stop and think about it, yeah, it does feel like for me, it was like Bruce Dern's, he felt like he was in a different movie.
Yeah,
like a better, like I felt like he thought he was in a better movie. And
he was trying,
he's really going for it. And I'm like, Bruce, it's not this kind of movie. you can just settle down here. But yeah, I suppose, but if you take one out, I don't know, does it make the movie any better though, if you take one out? No,
because it's still a bad movie.
No.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, sure. It's not like it was a long movie, so I guess it's not like we're saving time or something and making it cleaner. It was more just it felt like a waste of
it does. No, I agree with that. It does. And yeah, I think the thing with Michael Stuhlbarg's ending or his story was like, it just doesn't feel like they earned that type of an ending, that kind of more emotionally psychological twist that they wanted to throw onto this movie, because the movie doesn't feel like that at all. Like it feels more it's not thrilling, but it feels more like they're going for that, like that kind of thriller cop, murder mystery kind of thing. And so then when you try to throw in this psychosis kind of thing, I just don't feel like it doesn't feel very earned. Maybe that's why it kind of sticks out a little bit more as being just take it out.
Actually, yeah. I definitely didn't think it was earned. So yeah, that's probably what I was bumping up against.
I think there's also sort of tonal issues with it as well, because, okay, regardless of the fact that it sort of fails as a Fargo knockoff, that's the sort of thing that they're going for as far as it being, a small town murder mystery sort of thing. So we get that aspect of all of it. And then, in the back half of the movie, when the Derby Milton stuff, Michael Stuhlbarg stuff becomes more prominent, it kind of turns into Psycho. And you get like this, a couple scenes of, almost horror-esque type of stuff when, John Malkovich is searching his house and, same as with like Silence of the Lambs or Psycho or whatever you want to call it, of like going into the creepy house and you're not sure what you're going to see or what you're going to find. And so, there is a bit of tension there because they do bring that aspect, but it just feels so out of place and disjointed from the rest of it. Even so, like, it almost feels like Michael Stuhlbarg feels like his character has superpowers because he comes in and he's able, like, he's this meek, quiet guy and, he stutters and all this sort of stuff. And then like someone will like try to push him around and he's able to literally choke slam him up a wall and throw him across the room. And then you get this like really terrifying imagery of when he chases them to the high school in the beauty pageant and he's behind a locked door and he's just slowly banging on the glass. And that was pretty terrifying. Michael Stuhlbarg's a fantastic actor. I'm right there with you, Daniel, of like, I'm a huge fan of him. And he was probably other than Bruce Dern, probably committed to this movie the most as far as what his character was, even if his character was completely wrong for this movie.
It goes back to what Daniel was saying though, towards the beginning of saying, wouldn't the movie have just been better if you don't focus on Liam Hemsworth? And I understand why they did, because he probably was the selling point of the film, just in terms of his last name. And like, I assume this was around the time of, was this around the time of Hunger Games? Probably something like that.
So this came out in 2015. Hunger Games are 2012, 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Right. So you're writing off of the goodwill that he has from those movies. So I get why, kind of on the business side of things, why you focus in on him and his sad eyes. He has such sad eyes, doesn't he? He just looks like just so sad. He's got like doe eyes all the time. But the more interesting story would have been John Malkovich and Michael Stuhlbarg, like focus on the two of them. And that actually could have been almost like Zodiac, like I feel like you could have had like a really interesting
do your serial killer thing there.
Yeah, like that could have been a much more interesting movie, but I assume because they wanted to push Liam and his girlfriend, who is very inconsequential to this movie, by the way, then they go that way instead. So really, I think when we say that they feel like the Michael Stuhlbarg storyline doesn't feel like it fits in, it's almost like saying that should have been the movie, actually, because it doesn't fit into a bad movie. It should be a good movie.
Yeah. Well, you're right about, I think her name is Candace, or like Teresa Palmer character.
Yeah.
I felt like it undercut the Liam Hemsworth motivations, because it's like, that's his girlfriend and she seems perfectly happy with their life. So it's not like there's like, they're really like she is looking forward to being part of this pageant and like being part of like cutbank history. And he's like, nah, I got this plan. We're going to get $100,000 to get out of here. I'm like, oh,
I didn't think about that. Like, you're right. She's very content with her life. Like, she's very happy.
Doesn't have an issue at all.
And it also seems questionable how much she knows at certain points, because early on it kind of seems like she understands the plan a little bit, because we never get a scene of like Liam Hemsworth explaining to her, being like, oh, since we filmed someone being killed, we can get $100,000 sort of thing. But she knows that money is coming. And then later it sort of seems like she doesn't know what's going on. And then very end, when we get the ridiculous scene of John Malkovich shooting a dead body, they're like, and don't ever tell her. And it's like,
right.
So what did she know? What did she know anything? Did she know everything?
That kind of made me feel like she obviously doesn't know anything, because they were like, and you can't tell her about this. Yeah. You just take the money and go.
I also thought that this movie was going in a very particular way at the very opening scene between the two of them, Liam Hemsworth and Teresa Palmer, when he's like, we've been waiting for you to graduate. I was like, oh my God, what kind of movie are we watching? And then he's like, it's been 3 years. I'm like, oh, okay. I get where they're going with this. But at the beginning, I was like, what? Because I didn't look up anything about what this movie was about. So I was like, oh, it's this kind of movie. This is odd. I was like, wow. But then it turned out okay. It wasn't the kind of movie I thought. Maybe that movie would have been more interesting. That it would have been dicey, but it would have been a much more interesting movie than this one.
Oh God. Interestingly enough, both Teresa Palmer and Liam Hemsworth are Australian. So their American accents are pretty decent.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I knew Liam Hemsworth was Australian, but I didn't know. I didn't even think about that with Teresa Palmer. So well done. Yeah. I have no comments about Liam Hemsworth's accent. I think it's fine. He's just not a very good actor, is he?
No, he's
This
awful.
is my thing. Yeah.
So I have something I wanted to discuss here. Since we're talking about the beauty pageant that Teresa Palmer was a part of. So in a town of 3,000 people that we're told is Cutbank, Montana, the population, that would mean about 49% of the population is female, which is about 1,740 people. Then if we assume the age group of the pageant contestants is between 18 and 24, sort of the only age group that, the pageant contestants between 18 and 24, that would be 13%. That works out to being about 191 women. If we space it out even more, then becomes between 18 and 25, 114 women per year are eligible to participate in the Miss Cutbank beauty pageant. Is that enough women to have a pageant, considering I imagine a sizable portion of that group might never want to participate? This was what was wrinkling my brain when watching this movie of how in a town of 3,000 people is there enough young girls to have this every year?
My main comment to your question was going to be, that's how scintillating this movie was, that you went through and did all of those calculations while watching it. That this is where it comes out.
I decided to look up U.S. demographics.
They just need 10 girls a year, right?
Yeah, look, if
so.
You win a pageant between 3 people, you still won. You're still number one. That's
exciting.
Well, pageants are stupid anyway. Let's be completely honest. No offense to anybody if they're listening and they compete in them. But what are they really about? And I know that in small towns, their thing. And I did actually like the random storyline of the I think she was a bartender in it who was a former Miss Cutbank. Her boss
was like, yeah, I was Miss Cutbank.
And I just happened to have a picture of me in my back pocket. Here you go. just
all
gonna
times.
Whip that out for you. But I like that. I'm really pulling at straws, but it's I like that little detail because I think it shows it is that small town mentality, right? Especially small town American mentality. Those things are a big deal. And it kind of goes against the movie again, to Daniel's point. She's very happy. She was very happy to work towards this pageant. She was clearly working hard. She was rehearsing and was really feeling it. And then goes on there and then it's a big deal. And then she's upset when he's not there.
Right. But even then it seemed like she got over it because I'm just going to go find him, I guess.
That was the worst. Is it the worst scene in the movie? I think it might be, is when she's coming towards, when she goes to his dad's place, or I guess their place, and Liam Hemsworth just has the most pitiful look on his face as she's watching him, or he's watching her very slowly walk towards him, being like, "Babe, are you in here, babe?" And he's just like, "Oh, don't come closer." And I'm like, just tell her to leave. But anyways, but no, I to your question, Dakota, I think if you win a beauty pageant, 1 person, 100 people, 5 contestants, a winner's a winner. That's fine.
All right, fair enough,
isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And if you have 114 women per year that are eligible, based on my calculations, I guess that's enough.
I think 140. That's sizable. That's sizable. But say
it definitely was bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Say you did a race against just one other person, and it's just the 2 of you in your town, and you did I don't know, 200-meter dash kind of thing, and you won. You still won. even if it's just competing against one other person. You still won.
I'm not going to be proud of that.
No? Wouldn't the implication be like you were the two people that everyone believed was the fastest and you beat the other fastest person?
It's like the Donovan Bailey Mike Johnson race from back in the 90s. Are you telling me Donovan Bailey shouldn't have been proud of that? Is that what you're trying to say, Dakota?
Well, they were also both Olympic athletes, so
yes,
very different circumstances.
And this young lady is the Donovan Bailey of cutback.
I guess I don't know much about pageants because in my head I'm usually thinking about like in movies where there's only like the 5 like finalists on stage, but I guess maybe you do need more than what your math brought out per year.
I also gonna evoke like Matt Shakman again, just talking about Always Sunny since we get the chance to. He directed the Frank's Little Beauties episode.
Awesome.
Which is such a good episode. And he did that, so that's there. It's relevant to what we're talking about because it's a beauty pageant. But that episode is tremendously amazing.
I don't know where else to even go with this. Who throws out a whole pie when given like Bruce Dern in the very beginning is given a pie. We're led to believe he's this nice mailman, and this old lady is like, "Oh, thank you for my mail. Here's my pie. Here's a pie for you." He goes, "Ah, thank you," and they like throws in her garbage can. Was it supposed to be like the anti save the cat thing? Like just show early on how like terrible he is when he throws the pie away.
Yeah, because it gets in your head like who throws a pie away? So automatically you're suspicious of this man. You're like, I don't trust this guy because who would throw away a homemade pie that's just given to them? Something's off with this guy. See, it's clever script writing.
Works. I was like, I don't ever trust a Bruce Dern character, so I'm always just like,
actually,
he's up to something.
That is true. Has he ever played just like a straight good guy? Like, has he ever? He must have. He's had such a.
According to my mom, yes, he was like a teen heartthrob. But that's way before my time. Like, I the first time I saw him was on Big Love, so my mom was like, "Oh, it's Bruce Dern," and I guess he was the teen heartthrob for a bit.
In Nebraska, he was like a nice guy. He was cantankerous, but he wasn't like an asshole.
Wait, in this movie?
No, in Nebraska.
Oh,
the Alexander Payne movie.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. I'm looking at Bruce Dern as a young man. Yeah, he can get it. He's good looking. He's handsome. He can get it.
I will let my mom know she's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of him when he was younger. He was definitely a very handsome man.
I mean, he's all right.
Yeah, I don't know how long that lasted, or if he was like a teen heartthrob, but still playing like the bad guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Do not look similar, though. I have to say, I don't think that they really look alike.
Yeah, you just got to take the word for it.
No, but she looks like her mother.
Yeah.
Like there's photos of Bruce Dern with her mother, and she looks identical to her.
Interesting. Oh, she does. Yeah. Okay, you're right. She does. I just saw a picture of her when she's young. That is exactly
absolutely identical. Yeah. What do we think of the Oliver Platt character who shows up? He's the big city guy from the Capitol, and every time has to go, "You mean DC?" Every time he says the Capitol.
Yeah.
Is he the most annoying character in this movie?
Well, I completely forgot he was in this movie until you just mentioned.
Off as annoying because you would, I would think that a character like that would be there to be like a point of tension where you're like, oh no, they're not going to get the money because he figured them out. But I didn't really feel that tension while watching it, so it was just like watching him be very complimentary about their food and like, where the best steak is here, where the best like cobbler is here, and I'm like, is he gonna figure this out and like potentially get killed off or need to get bummed out? Like he just seemed to be there as like in general. I would get that he might be someone that will find them out and make sure they don't get the money, but I don't think that's ultimately what happened.
Okay, so I just finished this movie like less than 3 hours ago, but can somebody remind me what happens to his character in the end? Like how does his storyline resolve?
He shows up after Billy Bob has shot the corpse,
right?
Basically to sign off on the paperwork to give the money away. Like,
Yeah, so
he
they're
clearly-
getting the
they-
money, and they give some of it to, or just money they have to. Is his name Liam? Yeah, Liam Hemsworth. but the idea is that they get the money from the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So his character is just basically there to be like, I'm checking you all out, and in the
Yeah.
end, he goes, "Yeah, we got it. You're good." So
Yeah.
that's just okay.
Because he was like, I want to get out of this town. All I need to do is see the dead body and we're good to go. And so this is him seeing the dead body and like, oh yeah, like he was shot, clearly. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Here's your money.
I loved the little detail that he has the Bluetooth, just to show that he's like a real,
Right.
like Yankee, like a real up north kind of business guy.
Can't
Like
trust
that.
him.
That's the key, is to have that. What do they do now that nobody really wears those anymore? Those blue, because that was the sign for a really long time that a character was a
Wouldn't he just
douchebag.
interrupt them with a cell phone call?
I had to look it up because they show a cell phone, but it's like a flip phone. So I had to but it was like, how old is this movie?
He was the most
Yeah.
trusting person in this movie, though. He's just like, okay, yeah, that's
He
it. Yeah,
was,
you
yeah,
said
he really
you said
was.
someone got shot. There they are. No further questions.
That is actually true. He just took everybody for their word. To the point you kind of wonder, like, why were they so concerned about it then? Well, maybe that's why John Malkovich as the sheriff. Okay. So maybe John
Okay, some
Malkovich's
more.
character knows, look, all I need to show is the gunshot wounds. They're not going to look at it that closely. So even if they're fresh or not, no one's doing that.
Right.
So maybe that solves that plot hole right there.
It does. Like, it's still
give
We're
it to
very
doing
dumb.
it. We're doing it, guys.
Yeah.
We're putting this movie
Yeah.
together.
Locked in.
Because, like, I imagine what would happen is Oliver Platt doesn't actually care about the circumstances, the why, the how, all that sort of stuff. He just needs proof that there was this body, that a government worker was killed. And then I imagine John Malkovich as the sheriff is willing to sign off on the coroner report that he was shot and then he was later tortured and beat to death or whatever was the official cause of death. So I'm guessing that's where the fraud sort of comes in, which then becomes a completely different movie because we've spent this whole movie watching John Malkovich being an upstanding member of keeping the law, and then it's like at the end it's like, hey, it's just 100,000. Who cares?
Also taken out a silencer as well, which I
Right.
thought only bad guys had silencers. I associate silencers with bad people, not cops.
That's why.
And
I
he's
think
like,
that
I've never
puking
fired my
thing is
weapon
like-
before.
He clearly likes guns, but like he was like, oh, dead body, and I was like, what?
That's true.
I'm willing to admit that I might have missed a scene where like we learn that he really just does that to throw people off the scent, but like I thought it was going to play into it more that he was so like it would have been like, oh, he solved it even though he has this big aversion to blood, but didn't really play into it. And in fact, he seemed like, as you said, he had like a silencer out and he was like pew, pew, and shoots Michael Stuhlbarg no problem.
I thought he shot Bruce Dern at the end.
He meant shooting Michael Stuhlbarg in the police chase when he's trying
Right.
Sorry,
Okay.
yeah. So he shot,
Okay, no, that makes sense. Did I miss something? Here's another, you guys can clarify for me, a movie I literally just stopped watching a few hours ago. If they need to see a body, right? And I presume that Bruce Dern, as a member of the postal office, is aware of this. Like, if they know going into this little shenanigan that they're trying to pull that they're going to need to see a body. Did they ever say, like, how they were going to do that? Like, if that's their plan, so if he needs a body, and presuming Bruce Dern knows that.
Was it supposed to be just like, oh, we'll just show the video and that'll be enough?
Oh, maybe.
I think so. So basically, what would have happened, assuming nothing went to shit, is basically they film the fake murder happening. They show it to the police, and like, oh damn, that's terrible. All right, yeah. So the process is, we just need to verify the dead body, and then we'll send you the check. And then they'd all look at each other and go, "I'm sorry, what? You need what from us?" Yeah.
So this worked out better than Liam could have ever imagined. Because wow.
Yeah,
I think maybe they were banking on it. We have video of it, so that'll be enough. But
that makes sense.
It does feel
I also,
like you would need to be like, just show me the body, please.
because it's not like it was like, like he went missing. It was just, we know he got shot. So if you know he got shot, where'd the body go?
Yeah.
But one other stupid thing about this movie is Bruce Dern's character. Why did he hide out in his old office? Of all places, if you're trying to be a dead man and presumably untraceable, why would you still just be hanging out in your office? Or like your...
Well, it wasn't his office. That was Billy Bob Thornton's office, but it was an abandoned dump. And
they had dialogue about like, no one's been there in forever or something like that.
I got you. And then,
but I do think he even gets in trouble. Like, I think Liam takes him to task for that, though. At some point, like, what are you doing?
He does. Yeah, he does.
But I don't remember what. I guess he said whatever Liam said, which is, "Oh, no one comes around here anyway."
Right. But then he got found out because he left his puffer on the. I like when an inhaler is the turning point of a plot. Is that the inhaler?
Right. I have to admit, I did feel a bit of a thrill when he didn't have the puffer and he was like gonna have to gasp for air. I'm like, they're gonna find him out, but that was short lived.
You'd think if you're a wheezing man, you wouldn't hide out underneath a grate where they would clearly hear you and see you.
You know what? I was just about to say I would have just tried to make a run for it, but he does try to make a run for it and it doesn't work.
He does. And then he turns around and can breathe just fine to go and attack and almost kill Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, because I thought he was going to go back into the building or to that little room and grab his puffer first.
No.
Maybe he did it off camera. Maybe it was off camera. Maybe we just didn't see that. Maybe,
okay. I'm willing to give the movie that.
Yeah. Maybe he did go in, took a couple puffs, got his breath back, and then went out and did the...
Billy Bob was just really polite.
And he was waiting. He was just like, you take your time. You take your time. Let's do this. Maybe that's what happened. Off camera.
I don't know. For me, I think the best part of the movie was the end credit song, which is a Hank Williams song called Cut Bank, Montana. And I was like, oh man, this is actually a pretty good song. I wasn't sure if it was an original song for the movie or not, but I just looked it up and it came out in 1992.
Okay. So, yeah. I went, because I had a similar thought process of like, wow, they do have a Cut Bank song. Like, that's cool. And then I didn't go further to look up when it came out. I was just like, it's just nice. I think I assumed it was like from the 70s or something. I don't know.
So Cut Bank is a real place. I thought it was
a
fictional town. Oh, okay. I kept, when I was like searching for this movie, I kept searching for Cut Back. Because I just, in my head, this is called Cut Back, not Cut Bank. And then it kept like, I kept getting these weird things. I was like, it's not called Cut Back. So it is a real place. That's interesting. That's good to know. Good to know. There's many layers to this movie, and you guys are helping me fill in a lot of, not really a lot of the gaps, but some are still there, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we have any last things we kind of want to talk about before we get into our games? Any last plot points?
I think we covered it all. But I mean, other than he was the box he wanted was to like complete a playset he had.
We didn't want to talk about that.
That was, I guess, the most Norman Bates of it all. Was he's like, at first I was like, wait, are these humans that he like dressed up? And then I was like, oh no, I guess the movie doesn't want to go that far. But like, I was just like, what is this? This is what he's going around killing people for?
Yeah. I was very confused. These mannequins, I don't know if they were, but they looked so human-like. And then we never get to see them again. We have no follow-up information about what this was all about. And why is it that it takes him, he can only order one item per year to get this? I don't know.
Was it? Because he's the guy, what's his, Milton, that guy. He's like a taxidermist, right? So is it meant to be that those are corpses and like he taxidermy?
That's what I thought.
I was questioning.
That's what I thought.
Which is that's creepy. And again, see, this is why that is the more interesting storyline. And like if we had just followed him or John Malkovich, one of the two, then it could have been
that John Malkovich is following him, and that we don't have a story about the Postal Service paying out $100,000 for proof of beating up a postal worker. We just do that. We don't need that part.
But yeah, I guess the implication is that they're not mannequins, but they're taxidermied bodies, which is super creepy.
Right,
Like,
I'm
that
glad
is
I'm not the only one that thought it. I kind of just was like, no, it couldn't be. But I was like, is this supposed to be real people?
Like, to your point, Dakota, they look really real. Like, they don't look like mannequins. They do look like human beings. So I don't know. I guess so. Because if it's mannequins, then it's weird, but it's not. Like, it's not a crime just to have mannequins.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. It's just weird, not that
it's not illegal.
Like,
yeah. Whereas, like, if this is like a taxidermy situation, then that's a situation. Yeah. That's But then again, that happens right at the end of the movie, and so you see it, and it's on screen for what, like a minute? Maybe not even. Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's done, and then you're like, oh, that's what he wanted the lunchbox for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. Like, it's just kind of used to close a loop, I suppose, of just saying, like, yeah. I kind of feel like, I wonder if this movie is like, I haven't looked at it. Maybe I'm thinking about this too much, but do you guys know the movie Exposed by Keanu Reeves? No. It's not by him. No. He's in it. Him and Ana de Armas are in it.
Huh.
And
okay,
it's about...
I'm thinking of the trailer now.
So... like, when they signed on to do the movie, the focus was Ana de Armas' character, but then I believe it was Lionsgate wanted to change it, and then they focused in on Keanu Reeves' character. So this is like a mystery, thrillery cop kind of movie as well. Like, it's similar-ish in a way. And then they ended up editing it so that it came from the perspective of Keanu Reeves. And the movie's terrible that way. But recently, I think at the beginning of the year, somebody mentioned that there was, I noticed a post on Twitter that there is now a cut where it's the original from Ana de Armas' character's point of view. Maybe that's what happened to this movie, guys. Maybe it's not that it's a bad movie. Maybe just somebody got in the way in like the editing, and then Liam Hemsworth ended up being the focal point, which he shouldn't have been. I'm giving this movie a lot of grace. I'm trying to find something about it that maybe there's a reason why it's this bad.
I appreciate that, because it does feel like, how did so many people that you would consider talented come and produce this? And maybe that's the key, is that somewhere in the edit they lost what they initially had.
And it does happen all the time. I mean, when I joined in on this call, you two guys were talking about Snyder, and I mean, like, not to get into a whole Snyder discussion, but like, that was a big thing for his movie too. Like, it does happen quite a bit. And then like David Ayer says the same thing happened to him. So conceivably, maybe the reason that we keep talking about how these two storylines seem just not at all cohesive with one another, and they seem like just different movies, or like one shouldn't be there, one is better, maybe the whole point is that there's something else going on behind it. But because nobody's big enough in it and nobody's really said anything, they just kind of move on with their lives and not make a big Twitter campaign about it to release the Shakman cut. They're not going to do that. No offense, Snyder fans.
We started that with this episode.
Yeah, this is what we'll do with this episode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will get into our games.
It was colder than a well digger's ankles in Cutbank, Montana. But my heart was on fire when I saw her step down from the train. I'd been up there forever, but her arms were finally around me. All my icicles melted away at the sound of her name.
Okay, so the first game that we are going to play is Would You Rather. Do we do Would You Rather or double bill bearing first, Rachel? I don't remember.
I think we usually... is there usually an order?
I don't know.
I have double bill first, but I also could have copied that down wrong from the email.
I don't know if we do it in a specific order. I feel like we just...
Let's go double bill bearing first, because if that's what I put in the email to Daniel, then that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is make a double bill pairing, and the only stipulation is that it cannot be another A24 film. So Daniel, as our guest, you go first.
Well, it's. Thank you for letting me go first. We really didn't like this movie, so now I feel like maybe this won't be a great double bill, but I chose A Simple Plan. Now, for two reasons. One, you get to see some range from Billy Bob Thornton if you're watching both of these movies. And two, it did feel like a bit like, these small town people that have these dreams that kind of don't go the way they want to, based on a certain amount of money, and obviously different ways of getting at that money. But I thought maybe that would be a good double feature, is watching A Simple Plan in this movie. But after talking about it, I'd say maybe it would be a little too heavily weighted in one direction.
Maybe it would be like a tonic. It'd be like a tonic to the other movie.
Right.
Like,
yeah. So maybe finish with A Simple Plan.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You would want this to be the second one. No, you'd want this to be the second one. I haven't seen it, actually. I had to even look it up. But yeah.
Yeah, neither have I. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't seen it.
It's
interesting.
It's different. For one, the female characters actually have a point of view in it and aren't just like happy to be there.
Wait, actually, no. I just watched this not too long ago. Never mind. I didn't like it very much.
Oh, well, then maybe it would be a good double bill for you then. Burn them both.
No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a different Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton movie, and that was One False Move.
Oh, yeah, this is the Sam Raimi. They find some money and can these four friends survive this bag of money?
No, I am not familiar with this movie at all. I should. I like Bill Paxton, so I should go watch it. He's good.
He's really good at it.
Yeah, he's good dude. Good dude.
Okay.
Cool.
Rachel, what is your double bill pairing then?
So I was inspired by something I said. I was inspired by myself. Earlier in the episode of just saying, like, if you're going to do a typical film, you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel, just do it well. And it got me thinking about a movie that I recently saw, relatively recently anyways, and the movie Sharper, which was on Apple TV Plus, and it just came out in February of this year. So, oh no, it's technically an A24 movie.
Is it?
I just realized that. Okay. Well, then this doesn't count.
It is. Yeah.
The reason I was going to say it was just because it's not a particularly like blow your mind movie. Like, it's not anything great, but I just think it's done really well. Like, for that genre of constant plot twists happening, like one too many plot twists, in my opinion, on this movie. And it's a very, like, you can see what's going to happen. You know who the bad guys are. You know, like, if you've seen a couple like these mystery psychological mystery type movies, you'll know what the ending is, but it's still done well. And so I just thought it was a good example of that done well. But I just realized, it's also distributed by A24 in the States. So that doesn't count.
I do like the cast.
I'll do mine, Rachel, and you think of something different.
Go ahead.
Okay. So there is another movie where a character named Milton, who is considered odd by everyone else, he has something important taken away from him and becomes single-mindedly obsessed with its return. Can you guess what movie I'm talking about?
No.
No? Rachel, any guesses?
I don't got anything. Milton.
Okay. I believe that Cut Bank is a direct sequel to Office Space, and it is about Milton, who is played by Stephen Root, goes mad that his red swingline stapler is stolen from him, and he gains superpowers because of it.
But then they switched from the swingline to the Boston stapler, but I kept my swingline stapler because it didn't bind up as much, and I kept the staples for the swingline stapler.
Yeah. I see where you're going with that. Yeah, I get that. I get it. Yeah, why not?
My double bill pairing is specifically just for that joke.
Yeah, well done. Very well done. I like how I feel like this whole episode was building towards that joke. Like, you were just building.
It was
well worth it.
Okay, I'm gonna switch mine over to a movie. I already mentioned it, but I'm gonna say Zodiac because I think the best part of Cut Bank. bank. Thank you. Let's not cut bank is the Michael Stewart storyline. So I'm gonna go with Zodiac, which is, I feel like, could have been another good reference point for the movie if they had just focused in on that side of things, like the serial killer. Although we would know who the serial killer is in this point. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. But Sharper was my original one. It's just that's A24. Who knew that was A24? I had no, I didn't.
Who knew?
Yeah,
I didn't.
All right, so now we'll move on to the Would You Rather portion. So Daniel, what is your Would You Rather question for us?
Boy, I am regrettably terrible at Would You Rathers, but
you should hear mine, Daniel. They're so bad. Don't worry at all.
If you want, we can do it improv style where you ask follow-up questions to really get to what is the actual answer. But the Would You Rather is, I looked up her name and then I forgot it right away. The Teresa Palmer character is actually called Cassandra. Would you rather be the person, her choreographer, while she's gearing up for Miss Cutbank, or her trusted friend that she asks, like, "Hey, what do you think of the routine?"
Oh,
I'd rather be the friend.
Yeah, I'm fine lying. Yep.
You'd rather be the friend?
I'd rather be the friend. I could lie about that and just be like, yeah, no. And also, too, you just have to see it once. You just be like, yeah, that's good. That's good.
No.
If you're the choreographer.
This is why you got to ask the follow-up questions. She will be checking in with you every time she learns a new step. And she will be, you guys are really good friends, so she knows when you're lying.
Oh, that's sneaky. Okay, then I'm gonna go choreographer style. Is the choreographer her friend too? Or is this like a third party choreographer?
You're just making some money to make the best situation out of this possible.
That's your reputation, though.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with choreographer because then you can be a real dick and you can at least try to get her to be better. But you can be as harsh as you want because they're hiring you. So you could be so harsh that they eventually fire you. And that's probably your ideal situation.
All right. You know what? I didn't come into it thinking that was the right answer, but that is definitely the right answer. The floor is closed to questions. That is the answer. You just go so hard on her that she quits out of frustration, even though the movie kind of makes it seem like she would never be frustrated, but I think you could get her there.
She's so happy-go-lucky in the movie, isn't it? That's actually the funniest thing I think about what I've realized from talking to you guys about this is she is totally okay with her life. She is 100% happy with what's going on. That's really funny. And Dakota, do you want to go first?
I totally would be the good friend and just lie the whole time, though. I'm fine with that.
God, wouldn't that be so annoying, though? They keep coming back to you?
You're doing fantastic, darling. Love it. Love it all.
There you go.
I couldn't do that.
No notes.
Snap one day. I would just be like, no, I can't. I can't do this.
Wow, you learned that today? Wow, good job. I'll go. I'll go, Rachel. So very similar to Daniel's question. Would you rather have to judge a crappy local beauty pageant seeing dozens of untalented people trying to impress you? Or would you just once terribly sing a Tina Turner song in hopes of winning the local crappy pageant?
Right away, judge. I would not want to, if I'm performing the way she is, no, I wouldn't be able to. That would stick with me. If anyone ever showed me video of my performance of that song, I was like, no, I can't.
It was so bad. Yeah. I'm glad they cut away from that.
I'm with Daniel. I would say judge as well. It's better to be. It's more fun to judge someone than to actually do it yourself.
I know it would probably be brain numbing, but I just yeah.
But it could be funny too. You could make it fun as well.
Look at it this way. The best routine was the crappy Tina Turner song.
Right, because she did win. So yeah, that's especially why I'd be like, I
best.
Wouldn't. Yeah. No, I'd still rather be judging.
Yeah, I'd still rather be judging. What would?
Yeah, me too.
Would you rather judge, Dakota?
Oh, yeah,
I feel
100%.
Yeah. Okay, my question actually is exactly in the same line of thought as you guys would about the pageant. So I'm gonna say, would you rather have your so they have the talent portion in I say this because you guys when you
obviously
all the pageants that you guys have done. Yeah,
I've seen Miss Congeniality.
Yeah, that's my reference point for this. So there's no, it's not. It's Seinfeld episode of the talent portion. I'm thinking of the talent portion of that. Would you rather have to do a singing, but assuming that you can sing, okay, like moderately okay, or would you rather be a magic act?
So
singing.
easy. Magic act, 100%.
Really?
I wish I could do magic tricks. Oh,
wow.
I mean,
I think I'd actually choose magic as well. But then I think about the Seinfeld episode, and she had doves, and that was tricky. That was tricky for her. Do you guys know which episode I'm talking
I think
about?
I could get to singing before magic. I
Really?
As much as I appreciate someone who does it well, I was actually, funnily enough, like trying to do some stuff I saw online before I jumped on this call, and I was like, yeah, like I definitely would overthink it. I would be
like
really
some magic
worried.
stuff. You were trying to do
I
magic.
saw somebody doing like all this like making a coin disappear stuff, and I was like, they made it seem so simple, and I could not do it to save my life.
I love that. Just before you're coming on, you were trying to do magic tricks.
I didn't know it was going to come up on this episode, but it definitely was a big part of today's events.
That's really funny. Okay,
I'm glad
so
the cameras you set up, Rachel, are working.
Yeah. So it was that they call those like sleight of hand tricks, right? Like trying to make something disappear. I've never actually tried those, but I just feel like magic would be more fun. But I guess it is more difficult. It is a lot.
Yeah, but if you can do it, you can do it.
I wouldn't be able to do the magic and the, like the showmanship of it all.
True.
If it was like prestige style, I would definitely be the Christian Bale. Like, here's the trick, you get it. Bye. Like, I would have no one would give me any miscongeniality. I would just be like, no, here are the tricks. There they are.
And I guess 75% of magic, I feel like is showmanship.
Exactly.
Like
I could get to the singing before the being able to pull off the magic trick and the, personality you need to sell all of it.
What would be your song, Daniel? If you were in a pageant, what would be the one that you're going to go up on stage and wow the judges with?
As someone who needs to sing a whole bunch of Disney songs for his son, it's probably going to be something Phil Harris related, like either like Bare Necessities or Thomas O'Malley, something like that.
Nice.
Those are good ones. Good. Nice. Oh, I'm glad that question worked out far better than I ever could have imagined it was going to work out.
I agree. That was fun. I like how all three of our questions were about the beauty pageant aspect, even though that was probably the most inconsequential part of the movie.
I couldn't think of anything else.
No. There wasn't a lot to go on in this.
No.
All right. I think this is a perfect place to wrap things up. Daniel, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Where can people find you and your work, and is there anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I would love to promote my podcast, Spoiled Rotten. Both of you, Rachel has been on it, I think, episode 243 for Batman Forever. And as we said, Dakota, you'll be on in July for The Punisher. And you can find all of my stuff at tdfeverything.com. I am at The Young Guard on Twitter and just Young Guard on Instagram, YUNGGUARD. But yeah, it's pretty much the podcast stuff and my website, tdfeverything.com, if you want to see other things I'm getting into.
Nice. Well, I will make sure to include show notes, links for all that in the show notes, as I always do. And I will also link to Rachel's appearance on your podcast. And of course, when the Punisher one comes out, make sure to share that one as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, once again, thank you so much, Daniel. This is a real pleasure.
Thanks, Daniel.
Rachel, what about you? Where can people find you and what have you been working on?
You can go to, rachelkh.com, and I'm on Twitter at _Rachel KH. I know how to pronounce my name. What I've been up to, I'm just going to promote my episode on Spoiled Rotten podcast, because I actually really love Batman Forever. It's a great movie. And I mean, it's not great. It's fun. I shouldn't call it a great movie. It's a fun movie. And I really enjoyed talking about it with Daniel and Ben. And it took me back. It was fun being able to watch it. Not that I need permission to watch it, but it was a nice excuse to watch a movie that I haven't really seen in a little while. So go check out that episode.
Nice. Okay. Well, you can follow this show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at contrazoompod. And this has been a That Shelf podcast. So for more great film discourse, visit thatshelf.com. If you have seen Cut Bank, let us know your thoughts. Send an email to contrazoompod@gmail.com. Thank you to Eric and Kevin Smale for the theme music and to Stephanie Pryor for the logo design. If you like to listen to podcasts on YouTube, we do post all episodes there as well. And if you really like listening to the show, consider tipping us on coffee. Thanks for checking us out.